Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the coffee break and that you are ready to move on.
Particularly for the gastronomy and tourism sector sustainability. I would like to invite on stage Virginia Fernandez-Trapa, Program Coordinator at the UNWTO Sustainable Development of Tourism Department.
Gracias. Egunon.
Good morning.
Dear colleagues, dear online participants, it's really a pleasure to have the opportunity to moderate this panel today on such an important topic, food waste reduction. Food is a key element of the tourism experience. We all know it. We've been discussing it for days and in different editions of the forum. But food is also a precious resource, and as such, it should be managed responsibly. The way we manage food has great economic, social, and environmental implications. Today, we will discuss the opportunities that we have in front of us as a sector through the application of prevention strategies, the redistribution of food surplus, and the integration of circular processes to use every bit of food and also unavoidable food waste so as to advance towards a zero food waste to landfill tourism sector. I'm very happy to be sharing this panel with esteemed colleagues and partners that I would like to now invite to join me on stage. They are Svetlana Mikhailova, coordinator of the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program in UNEP, Thomas Candeal, project manager in the International Food Waste Coalition, and Monique Badaro, innovation and international relations advisor in the National Service of Commercial Education, SENAC, in Brazil. So UNWTO's work on food waste reduction is actually framed or taking part within the framework of the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program. This is the initiative that I have the honor to coordinate within UNWTO, and basically it is a collaborative platform where we try to find solutions to the biggest challenges that we face in terms of environment. And others. And we're leading this program in collaboration with the United Nations and Environment Program, which is today represented here by my colleague Svetlana Mikhailova. And the work on food waste is actually rooted on the global roadmap for food waste reduction, which last year in Nara, Japan, we launched for a public consultation, and then we finalized integrating the latest comments received from stakeholders. So to kickstart the discussion, I would like to ask you, Svetlana, if you can share a bit details with our audience on the global roadmap, what is it for, and also maybe before speaking about the roadmap, can you help us frame the problem of food waste? What are we looking at?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to colleagues from UNWTO for having me. Very honored to be with our distinguished guests here today. So, to start, I would like to recall to all of us that we in the tourism sector have a truly pivotal role to play in making our global food systems more sustainable. It's not only about food waste, it's about how we are producing and how we are consuming food. So, as Virginia mentioned on the next slide, let's start with some striking figures. It was mentioned already by some colleagues yesterday, 1/3 of all food produced globally is going to waste. This is enormous, 1/3 of all food. And in terms of economic losses, it actually represents 940 billion of US dollars per year. Just imagine, 940 US billion dollars. And beyond financial aspects, it's actually also a climate and environmental issue. This 1/3 of food lost and wasted represents also 4.4 gigatons of CO2 emissions equivalent. It's actually more than many countries emit in just 1 year. Next, please. So what tourism sector has to do with this? Actually a lot. In 2019, so just before the pandemic, we estimate that around 80 billion of meals were served to tourists. And here are some figures that illustrate the role of the tourism sector in the food waste generation. Globally, food service, including tourism, represents around 26% of food waste generated. As an example, in United States, yearly 63 million tons of food are produced, and around 40% of this food is wasted by consumer-facing businesses, such as hotels and restaurants. And in United Kingdom, another last example that will illustrate the issue, it is estimated that 18% of food is due to hospitality sector. So, as a sector, you can see that we are really in a unique position to drive the change, and not just because of these volumes of food waste that we are generating, but also because of our exceptional position in the very middle of the value chain, where as tourism sector actors, we can influence on how the food is produced, and we can also influence how the food is consumed. Next, please. So now just a few words about this roadmap that Virginia just mentioned, the global roadmap for food waste reduction in the tourism sector. Within the framework of the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program, under leadership of UNWTO, with technical support from UNEP, we have been working over 2 years on the development of this roadmap, and we've been doing so in a consultative manner with industry stakeholders, also represented here in this panel, but also with major tourism businesses that you all know, such as Hilton, Club Med, Accor, so on. Also with participation of major stakeholders from civil society, such as RAP, such as WWF. So truly we made sure that we involve tourism industry stakeholders, practitioners in the development of this roadmap to make sure that then this work is not just another UN report that no one reads. It's a true practical guidance, action and commitment framework for the sector to move forward. And what is our objective? Our objective is to make sure that by 2030, tourism sector drastically reduces food waste. Next, please. So how do we achieve this? First, setting clear targets. It's not just about ideals, like we all love sustainability. Sustainability is great, right? And we can pledge to sustainable action, so on. But what we need is clear, measurable objectives. For accommodation providers, these objectives could be, for instance, setting a target on reduction of food waste per capita per night. For cruise lines, this may be enhancing onboard waste processing techniques. Second, measuring progress. I'm sure this mantra was repeated already throughout this event, and you all know it. What is measured is being managed. And to manage things properly, we need to measure impacts of our action, right? And 3, taking collective action. Many of you may think, just as a standalone actor, our contribution may be just like a drop in the ocean. We all know that tourism sector is composed of a majority of small and medium enterprises, right? But we do believe that if we are joining our experience, if we collectively learning from each other, we can make a very significant progress together. And lastly, reporting and sharing. Again, to contribute to this collective progress, we need to be transparent about our challenges and also about our successes so that we can learn from each other and jointly progressing in the right direction. Next, please. So I will finish with just a few words about the recommendations of this roadmap. On the screen, you can see the targets that we are setting. We are suggesting accommodation providers and cruise lines to set. I believe with my colleague Virginia, we will touch base a bit later on these aspects as well. What I want to mention right now is that the guidance, the step-by-step approach that the roadmap is offering is truly for all of the players. It's not just for the giants in the industry. It's for fancy restaurants out there, to small bed and breakfast, to online booking platform, or to travel guides that are working on the ground. And yeah, we are, in our industry, consider that food is in the heart of the travel experience, right? And we are calling the world to experience it. And as a consequence, we think that we have to shoulder the responsibility to do it in a sustainable manner. And again, the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program is really, through this roadmap, is offering this platform, this possibility of taking concrete, measurable actions and tracking them, to make our food systems more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Svetlana, for the introduction. Just one thing to technical note, alert my colleagues, I don't have a timer. I thought we would have a timer. We can speak about this forever, so just make sure you make a sign. Okay, super. Thank you, Sole. So thank you so much, Svetlana, for this introduction on the roadmap. In fact, it was a great collaborative piece of work where many supported. One concept which is perhaps also interesting to retain is that this global roadmap is rooted in the hierarchy for food waste management strategies towards zero waste to landfill. That's the inverted pyramid that you see now on the screen, and which is basically a tool for decision making, right? Which is basically telling you how to make choices in an organized manner if you want to have the best results, reducing, of course, the environmental impact and minimizing the costs. On the top, you see, of course, what we call prevention strategies. Those include avoiding food waste, redistributing food surplus, reusing food, let's say, for material processing or the recuperation of nutrients, etc. And then we move into the section that is more connected to circularity, right? The valorization processes, where we still try to keep the value of that unavoidable food waste as much as possible. But let's always remember the highest priority has to go to prevention. So circularity is a subsidiary strategy. We can only think about circularity if we have already made every effort possible not to throw food away. This is when strategy, the circularity strategy comes into play. So we will do a first round of interventions on prevention, and then the second round will be on circularity. I'd like to now invite Tomás to tell us a bit about their work. What is the International Food Waste Coalition? Who are your members? What do you do? And in which areas do you support them? Because you have achieved great results and you have nice examples. So please, Tomás, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Thank you for all people who have worked for the organization of the event. And I'm really happy to be here. Food waste reduction is to me, something I've been working for the last 10 years. And the more I work on the topic, and the more I realize how important it is, not only for the environment and for the people who don't have access to food, but also for the quality of the meal that we actually serve to people. So the way is really like, the first message I would like to emphasize is that food waste reduction is not only a way to be economically more profitable or to save resources to the environment. It's also a way to question the quality of the meal you serve and how you communicate on this. So that's really the key message for me. Now I present the International Food Waste Coalition. I work for as a project manager. It's non-profit. It's been initiated in 2015, so it was right at the beginning of the setting of the SDGs. We have the SDG target 12.3 to halve food waste in the consumption level, so that includes the households, the food services, and also the retail, and to reduce globally the food losses along the entire value chain. And the goal was to work within the food services and hospitality sector together, collectively. So we have gathered some leaders in these sectors, which are mentioned here on the screen, in order to, let's say, mutualize the investment on what kind of solutions are needed to prevent food waste and then to valorize the unavoidable food waste. So this is the idea. What we do, basically, it's first, we define what are the priority issues that will enable the mass catering and the hospitality sectors to really reduce food waste and show the impact. So, as it has been mentioned by Svetlana before, the first thing you want to do is to know actually how much food waste do you have and to monitor the impact of your action to make sure that you are effective in the way you tackle this issue. So measurement and reporting, and it's really a challenge. It's easy to say, but it's really a challenge to align the companies to monitor, to measure and monitor the food waste in the same way so that we can collectively report our impact. Second was about consumer engagement. You will be very limited if you work on food waste reduction in a restaurant if you don't manage to engage your consumers or your customers. That's really key. Not only because they represent 40 to 50% of the entire food waste of your restaurant, like the plate waste, but also because if you want to limit the waste that's happening at the service stage or happening in the preparation stage in the kitchen, the consumers need also to understand why you organize your service in a special way, why you are bringing the plate in a special way, how your menu are designed to minimize your food waste, to be able to reuse the potential surplus you might have for another day. You have to engage the consumers for that. Then there are some technical aspects about forecasting, the portion control, the organization of the service and the menus I just mentioned that are also identified there as a key topic. It's important, and I think it's the second key message, to work in collaboration. So value chain, cross-value chain collaboration is really important. And here we talk about circularity, and so this is clearly an aspect that we'll develop later on. The key message on this is that you can reduce your food waste in your restaurant, but you also have to consider not to just to make sure not to displace the food that is happening in your restaurant, either at the production level or the different upstream stages of the supply chain, neither in the plate waste. So this is why you have to adopt this value chain approach. The ecological footprint is like the food comes from the earth and the oceans, so we need to make sure that the basis that gives the food is maintained. So it's really important to understand the link between food waste and ecological footprint. Then the valorization, because we want to here talk about circularity, so it's also an important topic that we have identified. So just concrete results. I'm talking maybe too much, so you tell me when I start whether I need to hurry and stuff. So with the common measurement and reporting framework that we have, here are some concrete results. First, we managed to consolidate the data from different companies in order to be able to have this collective reporting. And that's, as I told you already, it's really an important work. All people needed to collaborate and understand to align on which KPI to use, what scope of measurement to use, and so on and so forth. We have achieved 23% of reduction on the site where the food waste has been measured, and not all the sites measure food waste. Actually, a real minority of the sites measure food waste. It's between 5%, let's say 3 to 5% of the total number of sites of our members that measure food waste according to our common methodology. 23% of reduction between 2019 and today. It makes basically half of the target of halving or reducing by 50% food waste that is set as the global target by the United Nations. So it tells us that it's actually possible. If you design a framework to monitor your performance, you are able to deliver concrete results, and that the public is able to understand that you have been effective in the way you address this issue. This is really important when we talk about CSR, to make sure that people, they understand that what you are doing is not greenwashing. That's really important because it has been done a lot, and now people, they feel under sustainability, some practices are not aligned with the speeches, and so it's important there to be accurate.
Let's see the examples, Thomas, if you agree. They
Sure.
are really interesting, and I think measurement is a key, but perhaps also some strategies, how your members are really taking action could be interesting for our colleagues.
So because we are on circularity, and thank you, Virginia, for putting me on the right tracks, if you want to have positive loops and consider the food waste along the entire value chain, you need to realize that actually reducing food waste for a restaurant doesn't necessarily mean reducing food waste in your kitchen or in the plate. It can also be an action you can have partnering with the producers that are around you. And for example, sourcing products that are out of specification for wholesalers or directly with the farmers, so the product that would have resulted into food waste if you would not have buy them. Basically, it's a really impactful way to reduce food waste. So here are two French examples of companies specialized to help the actors of the food services and mass catering sectors to source this type of product and to prevent them from becoming losses or waste. It's important to have a partnership to know what kind of product you can receive, how you can adapt the menu when you receive the product that were not expected in the first place, the quantities and so on. Another way is exactly the same idea, but it's about the surpluses. So before it was the product that were rejected because they were ugly or because they were not the right size for the retail or for other customers. And here it's because very often, because it's linked to like the nature, you cannot control everything and the market demand. And so you have the surpluses that you can also absorb in your kitchen. And you can, because your kitchen can transform them, no matter like exactly if the product is a good quality, you can transform it into a good piece of your meal. So yeah, very impactful ways to reduce food waste upstream the value chain. Sorry, maybe I put you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Thomas. I think it's really interesting how you already started bringing us into a circular mindset. Sorry for this. Yep.
My bad.
Here we are. Because if you remember the hierarchy, we were talking about waste, right? How do we manage waste? But Thomas also introduced strategies that are extremely relevant, like procurement. So we also need to look upstream. At the end of the day, circular is a loop. So procurement is extremely important, local sourcing. And measurement, of course, as also Svetlana was pointing out, is key if we want to know what we have achieved. Svetlana, you have a comment on measurement?
Very rapidly, apologies for interrupting. I just thought that we can take advantage of the fact that there is time. We have also an excellent tool from WWF. I think, Thomas, you were consulted in the development of those, and it was developed in consultative manner with industry leaders. All of the biggest brands participated in development of it, so it also allows benchmarking and comparability with other industry leaders. So when you have time, please take a look on our roadmap. Again, it's not just a UNEP or UNWTO regular UN report. It's a useful tool for you to be using really in your operations.
Exactly. Thank you, Svidana. Very good idea to share this with our colleagues here today. One point on this screen, without willing to go into a lot of technicalities, right, but just also to get a bit more of information on measurements. You remember Svitlana presented the targets of the roadmap when she was speaking, and how hoteliers and cruise liners are being requested to reduce food waste and also to divert food waste from landfill or from the discharge to sea. So what you see now on the box on the top of the slide are the metrics that we recommend to measure progress towards those targets. And there is one interesting concept that is the notion of an absolute target versus let's say an additional metric. For example, the metrics on the box are absolute targets, meaning you will measure all of your food waste and report it as a bulk, so to speak. This allows you to have, let's say, to work at more a macro level, to report as a whole hotel chain, to report on a regional basis, or if you're a country, to collect the necessary data. However, if you are a practitioner and you are really willing to make changes in your food service operation, in your hotel, it is important that you think about more granular metrics, right? Because you really need to know what are the hotspots of the food operation where you really need to improve. And that you get, for instance, using a metric such as food waste per customer or per cover, which is the metric that International Food Waste Coalition and many other colleagues here in the room are using. And yeah, just we thought it was interesting for you to get that notion of the different metrics we can use for measuring. And now let's move to Monique. Monique, could you please take a minute to introduce SENAC? What do you do in SENAC? And also, how are you integrating food waste reduction in the curriculum of the food service students and trainees that you have? It's interesting, the connection between the School of Hospitality and the canteens. So I'm sure our colleagues would love to hear a bit more. And yeah, let us know also what strategies you have implemented, please.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here. So I'd like to thank you, Virginia, for the invitation to share with you our concerns as an individual and also as a professional from an education center. SENAC is the national service for commercial learning in Brazil. We offer training, technical, vocational programs for the tertiary sector, commercial, service, tourism. So we have culinary schools. Actually, we are a network of centers all over Brazil, but I'm talking from the center in Bahia, where I come from. So we have this culinary school over there with 2 different units where we have hands-on learning programs that with teaching restaurants. We have 3 kinds of teaching restaurants. We have canteens, as Virginia said. We have food labs. We have cafeteria. So all these food spaces are concerned with sustainable practice. So we have joined the climate action fight, the fight against climate change. And since we have been trying to reduce our greenhouse emissions, food waste loss and waste are one of the main sources of carbon emissions. So we are tackle that our priority. And since we are educational institution, we really are committed to those targets. We have to reduce by 2030 15% of reduction, and we hope to achieve net zero by 2050, as is the global agenda. No? So one of the restaurants, this building, modern building, is the biggest with over 300 seats, and last year got the certification, climate neutral certification. But all the procedures we review are adopted in all the food spaces, the other restaurants and lab and everything. So, as it was already mentioned, the strategies usually we take is inventory control. We all need to do that. The restaurant need to do inventory control, and we do on a week basis, so we know exactly what we have in the storage. Then we can plan our purchase, so it helps us to reduce our food waste from that point with the food items. Also, we care about the storage, proper measures for each kind of, each category of food. So we have the room, temperature, light, hygienic conditions, everything that makes sure we won't have losses. And we also forecast demand. Of course, we collect every day the sales data, and of course, external factors always can change and impact the sales, but forecast is crucial. And with that, we can change the portion size. We can, for instance, in our buffet, well, let's say that the three kinds of restaurants we have two buffet service style, and we have a la carte one. And we can say that buffet is really hard, it's tricky to reduce food waste, because there are always extensive menu. You can see a lot of different items. The customer expectations are always having lots of choices. So what we did is we changed the containers, the gastro pans, and we put smaller and flatter ones, and we keep serving all the time, but always with a small portion, so it helps a lot to reduce the food waste. Because in Brazil, once we put the food in the buffet, we cannot donate, we can't do anything with that for the legal, sanitary, health concerns. So it's hard to, once it's there, to do something with. Oh.
Same as before.
Sorry. So, besides with the measurement, we can address the portion size, a la carte, for instance. We keep control of what came from the plates, and then we have already reduced. We have a culture of abundance, so we put a lot of food, and we have been reducing the portion to avoid the waste. And in the buffet, as I said, we change portion too, and another strategy that we do is to use the food as much as you can. All the edible parts are used to make something. So we challenge our students, because they are all with the staff through the procedures we do. For instance, I brought to you some examples of, we have over there on the top, acarajé, which is Brazilian street food, traditional street food, and in our restaurant at the Colonial building, I don't know if you remember, it's museum school restaurant. So that's what we offer menu every day with 42 types of traditional food in Brazil. One of them is acarajé, so it's a lot of food. And we take the dough of the acarajé, which is made with black pie peas, and we do abará, which is another traditional street food in Brazil, and it's cooked differently.
Those examples are amazing, Monique. I really like the one with the coconut. Do you think we can look at that one?
We go further. We do fermented beverage, traditional fermented beverage with skins, fruits. We use seeds for farofa, which is another side dish in Brazil, very famous. Everybody like it. It's made with manioc flour, cassava flour. And the coconut was a big trouble for us, because it increased a lot the weight of food waste we had, because we sell the coconut water, and I go fast. And you used to throw away which is really a big trouble for the landfill, because it takes forever to go away. So we start using the pulp, which is usually we throw away. And also we send, we'll talk later about that, we send to farmers to use it.
Let's jump into that, Monique, because we're kind of exceeding a bit the time that we had prepared.
So the cilantro steam also, and as I said, we cannot donate food for human, but we have a partnership with a startup that produce insects for animal feed. So they collect weekly our waste to feed them. That's
very interesting. Thank you so much, Monique, and I'm really happy that you alluded to regulations. Actually, redistributing food is quite a challenge. The regulations are very, very limiting, and not only when we're talking about animal feed, but also, and even more especially, when we talk about redistribution to people, which actually sits higher in the hierarchy, so should be prioritized first. We have a good example. I won't go into the details because you can check the platform, but basically Costa Cruises, Italy is one of the few countries in the world where they have a regulation on food waste, which is actually encouraging the donation of food surplus for social purposes. It has to be food that has been prepared but not served, so same as like in Brazil. And they basically saw this law as an opportunity and started donating menus first in Italian ports, and then they expanded to 50 15 other destinations. So it's quite an interesting project, but it is really, really challenging to find the right frameworks for redistributing food. So next topic, I mean, we've talked about procurement, we've talked about preparation of menus with Thomas and Monique. What about the guests? No, it's also an essential role that they need to play. Svetlana, I believe UNEP recently implemented a very, very interesting campaign in Arab states on behavioral change. Would you like to share a bit about this with us, please?
Thank you so much. It was great pleasure, and thank you very much on behalf of my colleagues from UNEP West Asia office for the opportunity to present this work. I'm personally extremely proud by this example, and you will see shortly why. So just first to set the scene. Food security, as you certainly know, in action point when it comes to management of food. And latest studies reveal that households in Arab states waste between 75 kilos to 163 kilos per capita annually. And during the holy months of Ramadan, sometimes up to half of food produced can be wasted, which is, we will all agree, an important issue. So to respond to this problem, the United Nations Environment Programme, and more specifically our West Asia office, in partnership with a project called Go for SDGs, which objective is really to accelerate implementation of Agenda 2030, so Sustainable Development Goals in different regions. They developed this campaign, Recipe of Change. What is the objective of Recipe of Change campaign? It was really to foster the behavioral change and really trigger impacts on the ground. So the campaign was supported by very well-known chefs in the region, by influencers, which is very important to get visibility nowadays, right? And also major hotel chains in the region joined the movement. So it was implemented in Lebanon, in United Arab Emirates, in Bahrain, and of course in Saudi Arabia. And the campaign tackled the importance of how innovative and creative approaches of how we procure food, how we store it, how we prepare it, can reduce food waste in a very significant manner. For instance, we have issued videos of famous chefs that show creative solutions of how to store food, how to prepare food. We have videos from very famous chef Leila Fatala, who shows how she can prepare the food that is considered as not good looking, you know, this ugly veggies or ugly fruits, and into amazing dishes, and really to break stereotypes about what actually the good food should be looking like. And specifically, within the framework of this Recipe of Change campaign, we have a flagship initiative which I absolutely adore. You will understand why now. Oh, maybe I should change the slide, actually. So within the framework of this Recipe of Change campaign, we really focused on implementing a pilot during the holy months of Ramadan. And we partnered with Green Ramadan Initiative of Hilton, which was implementing a pilot in Dubai, Riyadh, and Doha. And this project demonstrates really in practice how the recommendations that we provide in our roadmap for food waste reduction in the tourism sector can be implemented in a step-by-step manner. And how can we truly generate impacts? So what was done? First, from a procurement standpoint, hotels that participated in the pilot, they focused on local sourcing. Then chefs worked on reviewing the menus, including on reviewing the sizes of the portions and also the disposal of food in the buffet. My colleague Monique just mentioned these challenges about
Yes.
how the food is presented and disposed in buffet and how it can be really triggering a change, just
Exactly.
reflecting on different ways of presenting and offering food. Then very important, and I have heard several colleagues mentioning this yesterday, it was very important to make sure that all of the staff that is involved in the operations in this hotel was aware about why we are implementing these projects and why it's important for them to understand and participate and fully support all of these operations. Then another very innovative approach, which I like very much, there were labels, climate labels that were developed for the menus and displayed, and also information for
Yeah.
all of the guests was displayed across the restaurant so that guests are fully involved and they understand what is going on and why there are changes that are ongoing. Food donations were put in place, very important. What we can't consume when legislation allows, well, we redistribute it. Hilton also partnered with Waste Lab, a woman-led startup in Dubai, on diversion of food waste, so valorization of food waste, particularly through composting practices. And lastly, Hilton also has worked with UNWTO artificial intelligence technology that allows to digitally track the food waste produced from the production stage to the plate to really understand where we are at. And suspense, you have been having these figures actually on the screen for a few moments, so it's not really a suspense for you, but I still think the results are incredible. In just 4 weeks, colleagues managed to reduce food waste between 60 and 65%. Toma, you're an expert in the area. You can confirm 60-65% reduction in terms of food waste. I think it's an absolutely impressive result. It really showcases how we can also start with awareness raising and actually generate impressive results on the ground. And with my UNEP colleague, we truly hope that we will be able to replicate this type of successful pilots elsewhere in other countries, in other regions. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's imperative that we all become more and more aware of what we can do, because everyone has a role to play, actually. Chefs play a very, very important role. We actually had prepared now a video where we have been supported by a group of chefs, including our esteemed ambassador, Chef Binta. But I think in the interest of time, technicians, if you don't mind, we'll leave the video for the end. We will close with that so that we can continue the discussion more at ease time-wise. So now we're shifting into the second part of the panel. As I said in the beginning, this is really now circular processes that we want to apply to food waste, to valorize that unavoidable food waste that we haven't managed to prevent. So I'll give the floor to you again, Monique. Next step in the hierarchy is to recycle food waste. One of these techniques is for recycling is composting. What circular approaches are you looking at in this regard at SENAC?
Well, we are waiting for recycle, but now what we do is we buy local. So the farmers who sell the vegetables and fruits and fresh food to us, when they come, they take out the waste and then use it for the soil and also for the fat, I mean the oil you have. We control the saturation level, and once it's saturated, then we have another partnership with NGO, so we send it to them to make soap. So basically, we do this circularity with the farmers that deliver us food, fresh food.
Very, very interesting. And I know you are in the process also to let's say, enhancing the way that you compost by applying technology and maybe
Yes, we have bought a recycler, a biodigester, and some other SANAC also are doing that. So we exchange a lot, and when it will happen, we will be able to composting everything over there. I mean, almost everything, not the coconut husks. But then they use also the what comes from the biodigester to fertilization, soil, and everything.
Exactly. I mean, it's really a virtuous circle because you compost, the compost is donated to the local producer is growing vegetables, and then you serve again the vegetables in your operation.
Exactly.
So it's really a virtuous circle, and that's exactly what Soneva did. This is a luxury resort in the Maldives. They have implemented this approach for a few years now, and they have achieved quite impressive reduction results on food waste rates, and also they are now composting 100% of the food waste manually. They have space in the bigger island to do this, and a strategy they applied is that they also in parallel increased the amount of plant-based menus, plant-based dishes in the menu, so they are actually, having themselves created higher demand for vegetables.
And also, in a year, we reduced 40%. So
Amazing.
we also had a good outcomes.
Amazing. So, Thomas, now over to you. What other circular processes can be applied to food, especially with a little bit of help from technology?
Yes, exactly. The thing with waste is that basically no one really wants to handle them, and so the way to make them processed faster is really important. So here we have example of accelerated composting. One can process on site 30 kilograms of organic waste per day, and you get an output in 2 weeks. This output then needs to be brought back to the field as it will be used as a fertilizer. And so the first model doesn't need any electrical assistance. It's just by moving the organic materials in there in the optimal way, you can really accelerate the composting process. The other one use electricity in order to, let's say, provide assistance in more domains. So you can control not only the oxygen level to make sure that the bacteria that do their job in the box to compost the food is maintained, but also the temperature and the level of moisture in that is controlled. And so it really accelerates, and the volume you can actually compost using this kind of equipment, it's until more than 300 kilograms per day, and you still have the output in a 2-week time. So that's considerably accelerating the process management of the waste, and it's important for let's say the restaurant and the hotel staff. It makes things easier, and it produces a fertilizer, because it's important in this circularity approach not to break the loop of the nutrients. So the food takes nutrients from the ground, from the soil, and we need to bring them back to the soil if we want not to lose any productive capacity and keep the soil in good condition, biologically speaking. So that's really important. Instead of just sending that to incineration, for example, where we lose all the value and we produce pollution on top of that. Another type of solution is adding another brick of value to this process, because in the process of composting the food, you can actually bring back energy in the loop, locally or globally in the grid, depend on the type of tools you will use. So because you generate methane while composting the food, you can use this methane to produce electricity. And so some equipments, they are there to either on-site or centralized via collection for centralized facilities, industrial facilities. They can help you. Here, it's an example of a BOB box. That's something you can have on site, and you collect the food from different restaurants. You bring that here. You can, like, it's really massive, the capacity of this machine. You have 30 tons to 3,000 tons per year, so you can really build a network to make sure that the loop for the nutrients are made, and on top of that, you produce electricity on top of the fertilizer. And of course, because you take the methane, there is absolutely no emissions of greenhouse gases in the process. The other CIAB energy it's the same principle. It really generates energy that you can have for your own site, as if you had a solar panel, kind of. So really creating value in different loops.
Let's watch the video. Don't you think it's really illustrative? There's video number 2, please, if we could watch it. It's from a startup called the Waste Transformers.
One of the most frequently asked questions we get is what goes inside a waste transformer and what comes out of it. So let's start by talking about what we're not going to put inside a waste transformer. This beautiful fruit and veg, there's no way that we're going to put this inside one of our transformers. The only thing we put inside is really that end of pipeline waste, those potato peels, those banana skins that really is no longer fit for human consumption. That's the only thing that goes inside a waste transformer. And the other part of the question is what comes out of it. Of course, we make 100% CO2-free green energy, but that really is only one part of the story. Let's take a look into the brain of the waste transformer and I'll show you more. One of the things we do is we recover the water inside the waste, and we make out of that a fantastic liquid fertilizer that can be used because it's full of potassium and nitrates and all sorts of good stuff. And the other thing that comes out of it is a dry compost. Take a look at this beautiful stuff. This we can use on parks to keep parks even greener. What we also do with this stuff is we upcycle it. So at the moment we're working to transform this into cardboard and paper. And as if that's not enough, we're also working to ensure that this beautiful stuff is also being made into textiles. So why don't you turn your waste into value? Put a waste transformer on your site and join our waste revolution.
Thank you, Thomas. Very interesting solutions that you have in your innovation lab. There are many more, of course. Monique alluded to insects that transform food waste into animal feed. You can even transform fruit peels into leather. You can transform orange peels into furniture and lamps. There's a lot of amazing ideas out there. Mushrooms into takeaway containers, etc. And really, we see great potential for destinations to invest in piloting these solutions in partnership with the private sector, with businesses, or in remote areas where perhaps these solutions can actually connect the tourism operation with the community by bringing back some energy. However, believe it or not, this is not yet the norm. We are very far from having these solutions mainstreamed in tourism operations. So, yeah, colleagues, why do you think this is still, let's say, not mainstream? How can we overcome the barriers, and what could be existing levers for us, for example, UNWTO? Obviously, we see clear role for national and some national tourism policies to be a bit more explicit on how they refer to food waste, because we did a research not so long ago where we looked at 114 national tourism policies, and there we could let's say, note that 77% of the tourism policies globally speak about food. So yes, it's important, we know it, but most of the references to food are done from a competitiveness angle. It's seen as a tool to promote my destination, to gain positioning. And yes, of course, local sourcing is also relatively present in the strategies, 40%. But food waste, with all the opportunities we have seen here today, is just mentioned in 12% of the policies. So really, I think we should place greater emphasis into this topic. If you think about it, food waste is cross-cutting. What do I mean by this? It's occurring in every step of the food operation. You can have food waste when you buy food, procurement, if you don't store it properly or if it delivery it gets damaged. You can have food waste when you're preparing the meals because of overproduction, another number of causes that my colleagues alluded to. You can have plate food waste if the consumers are indulgent, or maybe they don't have bad intentions, but they're just not measuring well the portions. So it's cross-cutting, meaning if we address food waste, we are having a lever to transform the whole management of food and hopefully reach the sustainable management of food. But I'm talking too much. Let's see what my colleagues think. Svetlana, what would be your suggestion for a lever to scale up food waste reduction?
Well, I wouldn't say that you talk too much. Actually, you just said, and what I fully support, and I wouldn't be able to say it better. Regulations is definitely absolutely essential lever to really make sure that the measures we are promoting, including to be implemented by private businesses, to make sure that they are really implemented at scale, we need appropriate regulations, legislation in place. And just a very nice, inspiring example that I have for this is current European Union work on food waste. You may know that European Union set target on reduction of food waste by 2030 by 50%. And right now, European Commission is working on development of legally binding targets across all of the countries of European Union, hopefully by the end of this year. Basically, the idea is to set legally binding targets using the baseline that was established a moment ago when European Union was basically undertaking a study about where do we stand in European Union countries in terms of food waste. So now that we have a baseline, we are in position to establish a legally binding targets all over the Union, and which I think will be a huge help. Including for our industry to really accelerate the action. And another point, and you also mentioned this, Virginia, and so I will not talk too much about it, but it's just when we were working on the development of this roadmap on addressing food waste in the tourism sector, for us, it was very clear that actually it's not only about food waste, it's about sustainable food systems. And food waste is an entry point. It is really a low-hanging fruit, actually, for the tourism sector to support more sustainable food systems globally. Because as Virginia just mentioned, food waste can be generated in areas that we not necessarily think about, but for instance, procurement, such a key topic in terms of food waste generation, and we not always think about. And another point I wanted to reiterate, but you, Thomas, you spoke about this already, collaboration on value chain level is such a key topic.
Yes.
When we talk about collaboration in the tourism program, it's not only collaboration between competitors, which we do, and it's absolutely a great thing. It's also to encourage an accommodation provider to talk better to local producers, to talk to local authorities to make sure that there are infrastructures in place, to work more closely with all of these amazing startups that we had examples of today, to make sure that the solutions that they are developing are actually implemented and shared more widely. But I stop here because I think I talked too much.
Thomas, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, to complement on the policies that are really key to encourage the actors of the hospitality sector to actually valorize their waste. If we focus on this circular approach. Actually, in Europe in 2024, it's going to be, so tomorrow it's going to be mandatory to segregate separately the organic waste in order to promote their valorization. So that's really a way to push the different actors, private and public, together to work to make sure that these positive loops are created on a local basis. And also, I think the public and so government, they can support the development of these solutions with investment. It's really important to invest into collective or private infrastructure, and so I think the business models for the valorization of organic waste, they can be improved as more and more people get interested into the topic. And so here, public and private investors are really key also to accelerate and make sure that we are efficient in the way we tackle this issue. So on this part.
Absolutely. I mean, I actually would like to encourage those startups wanting to apply to the 4th startup competition working on these issues to really do so, because we really need to learn about more of these solutions, right? Where are they based? How, if I'm in Uruguay, how can I access this technology? If I'm in Zimbabwe, how can I access this technology, et cetera, et cetera? No, it would be nice that we can really dig out those entrepreneurs and see what we can do together. What can we achieve together? Monique, please, your turn.
Well, I think education is basically because people have to understand the issue and address the question. And as we do with our students, for instance, as I said, they follow all the procedures, but we do field trips to the countryside. I mean, they go to farmers, they learn how they live and where the products come from. They change the mentality. And I think the new generation, they are much more aware of the question. So we do have to tackle this question from the education. We have to educate ourselves, our students, the staff, the clients, and doing campaigns, because as a matter of fact, people know what is the problem, but they maybe not know how to handle it, how to do. So we need, yes, investments, solutions, innovation, in order to give them the choices and facilitate to address the question. And climate change agenda, it's important, crucial, because you can identify what are your priorities in terms of emissions, and then you can tackle. For us, for instance, food waste was one of the biggest. So since then, we start on working, widening our actions towards that.
Fantastic. Thank you for reminding us about the potential of food waste reduction as a climate action strategy. Actually, Thomas was mentioning before the methane implications, and methane is like the big brother of CO2. It's actually much more impacting in the atmosphere than carbon itself. So that's what the gas that produces when food is degrading in the landfill. So clearly we can combine, food waste reduction with climate action to become more efficient. It's not going to be an easy task. Waste management is a wild sector, and it changes on a municipal level. So just check your context. What do you have? What can be processed? Where you operate? Find the synergies with the producers, find the synergies with the consumers, and try to work in a more systemic way. I think we would like to show you the video now where the chefs were supporting our food waste call for action. Can we play number 1, the video 1, please? Thank you.
To use local products, locally sourced products. We somehow make sure that the food doesn't travel, doesn't create what we call today emissions or damage to the planet. But also eating locally means that we eat a lot better food which has never traveled. It means that all essential oils or the nutritional parts stay in the food itself.
I'm working to cut down food waste by focusing only what I need and what's in season. I don't buy anything I don't need. Usually you go to the market, it's so easy to get lost and excited and buy things because they look very fresh and you know, you want to explore more. And also when I find myself in spaces where I've bought more than I need or it's going to waste, I try to pickle it, you know, sun dry it, find the preservative method to make sure that food doesn't go to waste, and also making sure it's at its best when preserving it.
For us, the relationship with the local community has been the axis of our proposal since we opened in 2006. Our cuisine is a reflection of the diverse pantry that Chile has, a kitchen where the origin and the seasons play a fundamental role and where the dish tells and speaks of our country and its communities. We privilege ingredients made by Chilean hands and a close relationship with producers, especially those ones with sustainable practices.
I get our clients involved in this real advocacy to create sustainability on our tables by making our offerings of plant-based dishes, vegetarian dishes, vegan dishes, as well as gluten-free based dishes, not only for their personal preferences, but also because we realize that people have taken their diet restrictions and their desire to make the planet much more sustainable more seriously when they choose what they eat and what they enjoy on a plate.
Food is life.
Food is culture.
Food is community.
Food is an opportunity.
Let's stop wasting.
So with this we are, thank you. We're closing here. Don't worry, I know you're hungry. I hope it's been informative, and we hope to count on you now as ambassadors for food waste reduction, same as the chefs. I'd like to thank my colleagues. I think they've been fantastic, and again, the BASC for giving us the opportunity to discuss this important topic, and also my colleagues in UNWTO for supporting the preparations. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.